what are your main kind of takeaways from working on products in those large companies as you set on your route to start Freeport?
What they do very, very well is they understand what the customer wants to hear, right? So you just mentioned crypto. This is a great example. Mentioned crypto. I think you probably do that a lot in these podcasts, but we're talking about crypto and why it's difficult to get people on board. And oftentimes what we'll do is say, well, look, there are 6 to 7 different elements of crypto. I need to teach you all of these things. And our perspective there is, well, I want this person to know this thing. Therefore, I'm going to go through and explain them the thing that I want them to know, as opposed to thinking from the perspective of the consumer or the person on the other end who will want to learn certain things more than others, right? Who will just be more inclined, more curious about certain elements. So when you look at an Amex or an Apple, they're very, very aware of the things that work and that customers are sort of looking for, that'll make customers sort of aspire to own their products, right? As opposed to saying, hey, you need this incredibly fast phone, which would be one approach that Apple could take. Or instead of Coca-Cola saying, hey, we use 50% more of this ingredient, you're seeing advertisements wherein people are living like in the lap of luxury and drinking a Coke, right? Or where they're using their iPad and they're dancing around with headphones in and doing backflips. So they're understanding that the customer on the other end wants certain things, and humans aspire to certain things and have different incentives. So it was a really good place to sort of foster that understanding of looking at the perspective of the customer and not trying to have them learn what you want them to learn, but making sure that you feed them the things that will actually convert in their minds. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense.
No, I mean, when I hear that, I hear empathy. I hear someone selling a feature, which is maybe this idea of our phone's 50% faster, versus someone selling a solution, right? Which is, hey, you got an app store in your pocket and you can do anything you want with it, right?
Yeah.
You're creating a connection with your customers because you're aligning what your product with something that they see as improving their life in some way.
Right. And we get caught up in Web3 so much in, like, the people who came to Web3 first are a little bit nerdy, right? Who care about, like, they're intellectually curious about the technology itself. And they want other people to share that intellectual curiosity about the technology that they're working on. So you'll see a lot of Web3 platforms that are like really proud of their interfaces, because the interfaces reveal some of the underpinnings of like what staking looks like or swapping looks like, or they, they're visualizing these liquidity pools, for instance. And for the vast majority of people that we want to get into Web3, showing them those inner workings is just, it's not going to be the thing that actually converts them, right? Like there's a very specific population of people that are extremely curious about that. And even though I was an English major, I am extremely curious about that, but a lot of people aren't, right? So I think it's going to be really useful for folks in Web3 to sort of look towards the examples of companies like Amex and Apple, and not just become super corporate. Like we should push that off for as long as we possibly can, but to understand, okay, this is what people actually care about. Like this is what someone is going to incentivize someone to start using this product. And it's likely not to be the lines of code or anything near the lines of code.
Yeah, no, I mean, it brings me back to an example I've been using a lot lately that I heard in listening to Roham, the founder of Dapper Labs, speak, which is that you want to create a product in a way that abstracts away the technology. But if someone is curious, letting them peel back the layers still too.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. And the nice thing is that that's always there in crypto, right? Like you can always go on Etherscan and see what the hell is happening, as long as they're actually like legitimate contract addresses. There are certainly, to be clear, there are certainly elements of crypto that are worth elevating, or like elements of the technology that are worth elevating. It shouldn't just be like, hey, you get this new thing. But I would say the vast majority of Web3 projects, and the ones that I've sort of been playing around with for, since DeFi Summer happened a couple of years ago, have not tried to abstract some of those things away.
No. I mean, like you mentioned at the beginning of your statement, whenever there's new technology, it is the developers, the technical minded people that lead the way, because they have to build it, right? Like we need someone to build it. So the early remnants of that technology are always going to be technically minded. They're going to be rooted in, figuring out how it works and like all this stuff. And like even me, who's been spending a lot of time in this space and talking to a lot of people, like some of the stuff is just still over my head, frankly.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Don't ask
but
me about ZK rollups.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. I just missed that session at Web3 ATL.
yeah.
But like at a certain point, if you would like, and this is up to the individual, if you would like to see Web3 sustain itself as the third iteration of the internet, which is pretty much what it is meant to be, it's going to require a simplification, a better UX UI, better software, changing the way that we talk about it so that it's not so technical.